Hello, everybody, and welcome to a special edition of The Chair 2019 Football Edition NFL coming up soon on Thursday. As it's Happy Labor Day to everybody out there, all the people working, and I guess for the people who aren't working, whatever. Um, Today, I would love to do the preview of the NFC South that has New Orleans and Atlanta, Carolina, and Tampa Bay, and go through the teams and then the predictions, and then go from there. And of course, I think we all have to start with the New Orleans Saints coming off 2018 with their hearts broken, with their minds fooled and played in the NFC Championship game at the Dome when an obvious pass interference was not called. And because of that, the rules have changed, and now there will be a what is it? A pass interference challenge. You can challenge if it was or wasn't, depending on what side you're on. So that'll be interesting. So we really have to define what is a pass interference call. Was there a grab? Was there a hold of a jersey? Was there something to make it a pass interference call that a referee didn't see from an angle? So we really have to define, what is a pass interference call, and I would love to see that in action week one right away. Obviously, there were some calls uh, made in preseason that was a little shaky, but it was preseason. But they gotta see what they have. Excuse me. So New Orleans will try to come back from that loss in the championship game and ultimately make the playoffs and get back to it and try to overcome what happened in 2019. They're led, of course, by the amazing Drew Brees. I've had people um, just give horrible and unfair and honestly stupid analysis on why he's not a all-time quarterback. It's because he plays in the dome, and I don't agree. I disagree with that so much that that's where he is. That just happens to be where he plays. But when you think about it, what were the Saints before Drew Brees? They were, if you start in 2000, they were lost with Ricky Williams, and then they got Aaron Brooks and Deuce McAllister, Joe Horn, and they made the playoffs with Jim Haslett. After that, they dealt with players retiring, players leaving, Hurricane Katrina, having to play in 2005 in multiple stadiums, multiple cities because they couldn't go back to New Orleans. Excuse me, just crazy. So, and then they got Drew Brees. San Diego said, "Oh, we're gonna go with Phillip and Drew Brees." We didn't know about his shoulder. I forget. I think it was this one that he hurt, and Miami passed on him. And New Orleans got him. They believed in him. They said, "Can you lead us back to New Orleans and to the top?" And he did. And after a few lean years after the Super Bowl win, they're right back almost near the top. And they got to the championship game last year. And Drew Brees, uh, getting protected well always. He's going to get protection. He's going to get the yardage. He has a playmaker. Uh, I think you start with Kamara. He's a fantasy football delight if you have him on your squad. He's a great runner, ball catcher, can make things happen out in the flat, on a screen pass, wherever you want to line him up. Just a dual threat. It's amazing. Not only that, they have Lamarcus Murray, Latavius Murray, excuse me, Latavius Murray, former Raider, former Viking, looking to back up Kamara and get the yardage on third down that's needed. So that would be interesting to see how Murray fits in. And they also have Hill, who you'll see number 7. He'll come out. He'll play some short yardage wildcat formations, which is just odd to see him in the game when you have Drew Brees. Then you realize, hey, maybe we can get Brees a playoff or something and get him going later on in the drive and have Hill get the needed, 1 or 2 yards on third down. Put some razzle dazzle in there. So that'd be interesting to see how they do that again. For the receiving core, it all has to start with Michael Thomas, who got paid this summer. He is worth what he's getting. He's definitely a top 5 receiver in the league. A lot of people are discrediting him, but he still has to make the catches. He still has to, get the yardage, break tackles, score touchdowns, and that's all he does. Catches balls, score touchdowns. So he's one of the greats. There's no doubt about it of our era. I don't care if he has juniors. I don't care if they play in a weak division, like people say, or if they play in a dome. Who cares? He's great. Ted Ginn Jr., the veteran, he's still going. And they have some young guys as well at receiver, but they got to get it all situated out for opening day, and then Brees has to find who he works with. And speaking of who he works with, former Raider and a great pass catcher, is tied in now, Jared Cook. He's going to be awesome for the Saints. There was a man named, I believe, Michael Barty, and he's a Saints fan, and right away I told him, hey, you'll love Jared Cook. He might be the guy that takes you over the hump in close games that they've had. And, he'll be a factor, no doubt about it. It'll be something to watch for. And then Josh Hill, another tight end coming up. He's young, but he's in a great system with Drew Brees, and that'll make it work. So, and also they're protected. They may have lost some people on the offensive line, but they drafted well. Armstead and Austin Peete is there, covering the tackles and blocking the defensive line. Should be fun to see for the defense, which was awesome the last 2 years. After being really nobodies, they've shown tremendous progress, and they stop a lot of people. Cameron Jordan up front, he's just amazing. He's a sack master. Malcolm Brown, coming from the Seahawks, he's making his way onto another championship ball club. Ziggy Hood, you know him from the Saints. He's doing well. And Michael Davenport, he's up there. Amari Edwards Jr., the former Raider, in a better place. Eli Apple, the secondary. He's a corner, and he was traded to the Saints last year from the Giants, and right away he was in the thick of things. And he'll be ready to go with a whole year under his belt in the Saints defensive system. Maybe he'll be better. It's his last chance to show that he could play on a winning ball club and really help out. Now, the star of the secondary, there's Thomas at safety as well, but the star is Marcus Lattimore, who basically came out of nowhere after he had the embarrassing mishap in Minnesota. I believe that was him. At any rate, he's out to excuse me, he's out to do well again. Marcus Lattimore, great cover, corner, shut down. He's young and upcoming. He might not be on certain levels, but you would take him on your team right away. That's what I think. Uh, for Marcus Lattimore, so he'll be the anchor, and he'll be the reason the defenses get outside, as you got Cam Jordan inside and Malcolm Brown in the middle. So they're a solid, pretty solid ball club. I think New Orleans, and they'll be there for the championship game again. I would think for the Atlanta Falcons. Last year was very disappointing. Injuries, bad play. They're trying to regroup defensively, have some help. But it all depends on health again. If they can protect Matt Ryan, the quarterback, who's now in his 11th season, which is amazing to think. It might be 12th, 08, or whatever that is. He's a he's a stud. Excuse me, he's a stud. He can throw, catch. I mean, he can throw and the others catch, but he needs a running game, and that's where Freeman comes in. Devontae Freeman was out all of last year. The only time you seen him was in that Bose commercial, and that was the only time he was on the field with the Falcons last year. So he's trying to come back from an injury, and he's got to be the workhorse, and he has backups trying to take his spot. So it'll be interesting to see how he goes about that. And I believe it. Again, if they don't have him and the running game going, they're one-dimensional and not that good. But one thing good is the receiving core that they really have, and that's Julio Jones, stud. He was injured, but he's backing out to prove people wrong. He's been one of the top 5 receivers. Fell off last year, but he's looking to prove me wrong. I believe in him. Mohamed Sanu coming over. He's a great player, great receiver. Calvin Ridley. Now this is a lesson of a story with Calvin Ridley. If you have him on fantasy, or if you want him to um, produce, he's up and down. All of last season, he was a rookie, and he had a couple of great games, and then he disappeared really from the offense. So he was hard to figure out, and if he wants it, he'll get it. And they have Hardy as well. Tight ends, they have Hooper, Justin Hooper. Great guy over the middle. You can throw it high to him, and he can make catches. Another target for Matt Ryan to throw to. So the offense should be solid if they protect Matt Ryan. Okay, that should be the only issue, other from Devontae Freeman coming back from injury. If he's healthy or not, we'll see. Okay, defensively or offensively, excuse me. We continue with Carpenter on the offensive line. Alex Mack, the former Brown, he's still there, anchoring that offensive line, improving others wrong because he has been in the league for a long time. Alex Mack. Defensively, Beasley, just a beast over there. Vic Beasley for the Falcons. He'll be in the middle. Deion Jones, he'll be great as well. The secondary, they have a lot of names you might recognize, other from Keanu Neal and Ricardo Allen. I believe I saw that Matt Bryant will be the kicker again for them. He's been there a long time after Tampa Bay. They just signed him to a deal to keep him there. So the veteran lost his son, continues to kick with the Falcons, and I wish him nothing but the best. Now we go to the Carolina Panthers. Carolina, they're led, of course, by Cam Newton, and no matter what, if you think he dresses weird, if you think he acts weird or he's sexist and he's whatnot, and he's all about himself and all that, he's the leader of the team. That's one thing you have to realize. And when you think about it, he's been there a long time. And last year he took a lot of hits, and he's not running like he used to. He's taking some dirty hits as well. I remember in Atlanta he took a dirty hit that he did come back from, but it was one of those, sliding, giving himself up, and then a Falcon hit him, and that led to a little pushing, shoving match with others, and no doubt Cam will be there, but his blanket, his protective blanket, will be Christian McCaffrey. This guy, again, one of those fantasy studs, catch a ball in the flat, which, let me tell you this, there's a lot of offenses now that are abandoning the running game altogether, and they're just throwing these screen passes. They're throwing these little flats, and they're running. They're running these little passes and hoping to get blocking up front. That could free McCaffrey on some plays, so watch out for that. If you're going against the Panthers, which the Rams are week one, they probably have their eye on McCaffrey, knowing that Cam is banged up, in my opinion, pretty much all the time now. Receivers, they lost some. Still have DJ Moore, who's trying to prove himself. They had a funny video with Steve Smith. He's there at training camp with Cam, and he's trying to get DJ Moore motivated. And he's asking Cam Newton, should I have him? Should I have DJ Moore on my fantasy, or does he suck? So, DJ Moore, of course, is hearing this, and I wonder if he keeps that in mind, like as he's out there, as he's trying to prove something. He also has Curtis Samuel with him, and then Cliff Hogan coming over from the Patriots. Should be a slot receiver, kind of a cheap man's, poor man's Julian Edelman. Chris Hogan, excuse me. Why did I say Cliff Hogan? Chris Hogan on that side. At tight end, Greg Olsen still going, old, but he's still going. He's a great, smart mind. From the offensive line, they lost a few, but they got Matt Perales from the Denver Broncos. They're going to need to do a great job of blocking Cam Newton. It's going to be tough, but they'll do it. Defensively, and this move, I guess, shocked me, but I guess it was time. Jared McCoy, the veteran that was with Tampa Bay, who we'll talk about next, was released, and the Panthers picked him up right away. And I know he's looking for revenge. I know he's looking to help the Carolina Panthers any way he can, outside, inside, and prove to the Bucks that you shouldn't have got rid of me. Denari Pope is a defensive tackle inside. He's looking to anchor the inside and get penetration and sack quarterbacks. Mario Addison, great player. The linebacking corps will be a little different because Thomas Davis, who's been there, it seems like forever, went to the Chargers. And now that's left is Luke Kuechly, great linebacker. He doesn't get hurt. He's one of the best in the league. Shaq Thompson. This is where all these Babies now are being named Shaq. So you see how the generation is going by. That babies are coming up now that were named Shaq, and it's cool to see. But there's just a lot of them, so there's no originality to it. I believe there's a Shaq going to be a top five pick in the next NFL draft. Bruce Irvin, the former Raider, he'll be on the linebacking corp of Carolina, and he's looking to have revenge after being lost in Oakland, pretty much, in their system. The secondary, Ed Reed Jr. You can like him or hate him, it doesn't matter. He's solid. Sometimes it's cheap shots, but uh, you need someone mad like that playing back there. You just have to make sure he doesn't do anything stupid. So that would be an issue throughout the season. Trey Boston. Now this is an interesting story. He was released from the Chargers. He had a couple of great seasons, and then he got hurt. And then, like I said, the Chargers released him, and now Carolina has him, and still looking to prove to others that he's okay and he could do something for him. So that'd be interesting to see. Gano is still the kicker there, and he came up clutch in some ways last year. And Tampa Bay, now as we talk about the Buccaneers, Blaine Gabbert got hurt. He probably was going to back up Jameis Winston, so now it's just Jameis Winston's job, and we'll see if he can. Man, you give Jameis so many opportunities. You give him so many different weapons, and it seems like nothing's working. He's a great runner. It's just his decision making could be a lot better, and that's been his problem ever since being drafted and being thrown in fire right away in Tampa. So we'll see what happens with that. We have a lot of young running backs in Carolina. Excuse me, in Tampa. They have to get that sorted out, and then in the training camp, and now making cuts, and then be ready for Sunday. We'll see how their running game goes, and they need it. Because that receiver, Deshaun Jackson is gone, Humphreys is gone, and all they have left is Mike Evans. And Mike Evans is a stud. You know he's going to get the touches, but you know he's going to get double teamed because of that. Because of him being the only focal point in that receiving core. Tight ends OJ Howard, he's a stud. He can catch anything and head upfield. Brait is there as well, so they're going to go with a two tight end set. That's going to be pretty well as long as Jameis gets the protection and or rolls out and fires. See what happens. Now they did sign Ndamukong Suh. He's trying to prove his worth again. Did so well with the Rams last year in LA, helping out the defensive line with Donald freeing them up. That's going to be interesting to see. I know this isn't the West, but Suh, I feel like, made sacks for Donald happen because not only are you dealing with Suh, but you have to deal with Donald. And they're both pretty fast. They're both powerful. They can spin through. So that'd be interesting to see the Rams without Suh. And Suh, of course, with the Bucks. And then William Golston, longtime Jet, is now with the Buccaneers, veteran. Now, the secondary, pretty young. Shaq Barrett, Chris Nassib. They have a young secondary as well. And it seems like they're always looking for kickers. They always have problems with kickers. And Cario Santos will be their new place kicker. He was with Kansas City, if you remember. And Matt Gay is becoming one of the best punters in the NFL, at least in the NFC. He'll be a punter. Sorry, no, 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 no. He's coming for Sato's job in the um, kicking job. So it'll be interesting to see the final cuts and then see where they go with kickers because Matt Gay was making some long field goals in the preseason. So we'll see what happens there. Now for the division, I see it going New Orleans, Atlanta, Carolina, and Tampa Bay. So we'll see what happens with that. In my opinion, I think New Orleans will go all the way to the Super Bowl. I think we'll have a Super Bowl with New Orleans, and I'll probably do a prediction sometime before the Thursday or Sunday season starts. But I got New Orleans going to the Super Bowl. I feel like they'll have revenge and then breeze through the playoffs and see what happens with that. So that's been the NFC South preview, but I wanted to talk about some news that happened last week in the NFL with, of course, Andrew Luck retiring. I I was thinking about this like real long and hard, and I applaud him for doing what he did. Thank him for the years he played. I thank him for giving up his body and having so many injuries, and for people to make fun of him or make fun of his desire, his heart. I feel like that's in bad faith right there. There's I think a thing now going on in the game where players are retiring younger and younger because of the injuries. They want to be able to walk when they're older. They want to be able to carry and hold their kids and play with their kids and have a great life with their wives, you know. And you know, Luck, he got paid. He got everything he needed. He had a comeback player of the year type season last year, and he did it as well back in 2016. He gave him everything he could, but just the injuries are too much. I know at retiring at 29, it's young and those people don't realize it. But if you look at the list of his injuries, it was real awful. And I know it was in the spur of the moment, but shame on the Colts fans for booing him at that preseason game. Now, I think the only thing Luck did wrong was the timing, maybe, of the retirement because it was right before a game and people were looking on their phones and the sudden shock came through. Now, he said that he could have done it the next day at, I think it was 3 o'clock, Central. So it could have been the next day and hours later. And for some reason, he did it right during fantasy football draft time because I guess the thing is you do the drafts uh, in week 3 of preseason. Some were doing it this weekend, after preseason ended. So, and that was my first time doing draft. Shout out to Todd. Shout out to his wife Sandra. Shout out to all the people who were there at his at the house. The draft. It was a pretty cool experience. Everybody was like focused, and it was like a library. and it was pretty quick. We got through the draft pretty well, and at any rate, nobody was picking Andrew Luck and Lamar Miller, and uh, so the timing of it for some who had to go with Andrew Luck, that was pretty tough to swallow, I guess, if you got him. Uh, but yeah, shame on those fans. Shame on those fans. Was wearing his jersey, booing him, was taking it off, throwing it down, and just being, idiots. Like, you were spoiled with Andrew Luck. You were spoiled with Peyton Manning. Before Peyton Manning, you had Jim Harbaugh. You had Justin. I don't know if you had Justin. No, you didn't have Justin Miller, but you had Jeff George. You had dude that got in trouble with the NCAA and gambling with Ohio State. All these like not horrible quarterbacks, but ones that really didn't lead you to the Super Bowl and to the playoffs much. Jim Harbaugh got there a couple of times with those Colts that somehow made it in the late mid '90s. But you've been spoiled with Peyton Manning. You've been spoiled with Andrew Luck, and for that, you should be grateful. And Jacoby Brissett now, he has the daunting task of taking over, knowing that it's his job, still probably in a state of shock that he has to start now for the uh, Colts. So that's been the chair. I just wanted to get those words out about Andrew Luck. It happened after we did the AFC preview. But hey, thank you, Andrew Luck, and thank you for you know what you've done for the NFL and all the plays we'll remember. We'll look back and we'll see how great you really were. And maybe you'll be in Canton. You should be. So that's been the chair NFC South preview. We're gonna do three more, three more of the other divisions. They should be coming up pretty soon. So happy Labor Day to all of you out there. Later.